So, hello everybody. Today we're going to play another choose your own adventure type D&D 5th edition solo game. It's called The Executioner's Daughter, Tribunal 1 by Ashley Warren. Ashley has written several of these and you can get them on Drive-Thru RPG. This one, if you just want a taster, first of all, don't watch because with Choose Your Own Adventure stories, as somebody is playing them, they will spoil them for you. So if you don't know if this is for you, this one is actually name your own price. So you can actually get it without paying anything if you don't want to, just to get something to give you a feeling for if this type of playing is for you. For this game, we're going to need a level 3 character. I'm going to take Meredith, who you have met before if you have watched the other two solo playthroughs. She's a 3rd level druid, Circle of the Moon. She has armor class 16, her initiative is 2, and she has 30 hit points. Since she's Circle of the Moon and at level 3, she can wild shape into any creature that has CR 1 unless it swims or flies. So let's take a look at the introduction. Summary. Soldra is a beautiful, ancient, and by the way, if you don't want to watch, there is nothing to watch here because Ashley doesn't provide any maps. So we won't be using maps to do anything. I may whip out a couple of miniatures just here on my desktop to basically, if I really think I need to stage the combat, but I won't be broadcasting this. So this is going to be a complete, if you like, podcast. So you don't really have to watch. You can only just listen and maybe, make a lovely meal. Summary. Soldra is a beautiful ancient city flanked by sea and mountain and lit by the sun as if blessed by the gods themselves. But its beauty comes with a price. After a tumultuous history fighting dragons that attacked and looted the city, the superstitious citizens of Soldra make an annual offering to appease the dragon god Bahamut. A virgin woman selected at random from Soldra's citizenry is exiled to Gara's Peak, where she is left at the mercy of dragons. None of the women have ever returned. This year's sacrificial ceremony doesn't go as planned. What will transpire on Gara's Peak? Then it basically explains how these games are played. I think the most important thing is not every choice is outlined in this module. Feel free to adapt the story to your own needs. Combat. In a solo adventure, you control both your actions and those of the enemies. We know this, not a problem. The stats and actions of potential enemies are listed in the relevant sections of the story. There are no maps included. If you are unsure of whether an enemy or an action is within range, it's ultimately your call. Who are you? It is up to you to decide who you are in the story. Make choices as they are presented to you. They are the way you build your character, including your alignment and background. She's chaotic good and an outlander. Should also inform your decision making. We need a full set of dice. We're going to use my trusty spinner that I got for my Christmas, and I love it. A character sheet, we have this, a notebook, piece of paper to track our encounters, optional but recommended, a good drink, and a good playlist. Well, I've got water, tap water here, and I don't have a good playlist, but we shall see. The Executioner's Daughter, the Plaza of the Sun. In the shadow of the stone tower that looms above the plaza, it is cool. But the many bodies standing in close proximity have made the air humid. The din of the crowd swells, and between the noise and the heat and the anticipation of what's to come, the atmosphere is stifling. You found shelter and shade under the arched porticos that protrude from the edifice. Thick stone bricks comprise the walls and structures encased within the Plaza of the Sun. An ironic name, for the tall walls block out almost all of the natural light, and everyone stands within its shadow. Before you is the flat facade of the temple of Bahamut. Above the large arched door hangs a beaten metal shield emblazoned with the profile of a dragon. To the left is a half-circle dais. The stairs lead to another large door, the entrance to the king's palace, where the ruler and his family reside. Atop the dais are 3 chairs, one each for the king, the queen, and the princess. And to the right, attached to the temple, is a tall cylindrical tower. And if you can hear my cat mewling in the background, that's going to probably be happening all the time. The top of the tower is ringed with triangles resembling a crown, and a small spire protrudes from each point. This structure is simpler than the others, adorned with only one slatted window toward the very top and a small wooden door at the bottom. Under your feet, the stone is grouted with blood. Oh. On any other day, your visit to Soldra would likely consist of a stroll through its bustling market, a luxurious meal of fish and rice on the beach, and perhaps an afternoon visit to the Temple of Bahamut to see a musical performance. But you have arrived in Soldra on its strangest day, and the whole city is tense, pulled taut like a bowstring. You've overheard mutterings that today is the day of the sacrifice, a ritual revered by the people of Soldra. Soldra treats this day like a festival despite the darker reality. The citizens are bedecked in jewel-tone finery, and the city has been scrubbed clean. King Augustin presides over the ceremony, joined by Queen Catalina and their daughter, Princess Augustina. Soldra respects the king, for it is under his rule that Soldra has continued to enjoy peace and prosperity. What do you know about this event? Roll an intelligence, religion, or history check. We have neither religion nor history, and our intelligence modifier is 0. So we're going to roll, and we roll a 7. If you roll less than 15, you've heard enough chatter in the city to know that an offering is about to take place. A woman will be sacrificed to appease the dragons who used to frequently attack the city. You're not sure how the sacrifice is enacted, but people speak of it with both fear and fervor. Fear that one of their loved ones will be chosen, mingled with a sense of relief that the sacrifice will ensure another year of freedom from dragon attacks. A blessedly cool breeze meets your skin. As you turn to find the source of the fresh air, you see that the crowd has gone silent and parted. An older man steps forward, dressed in a long black tunic that brushes the tops of his bare toes. His head is freshly shorn, covered only in a sheen of perspiration. His face is so long and weary, and dark half-moons sag under his eyes. A thick silver chain is fastened around his waist, and on his left side hangs a sword in a rectangular scabbard. From the corner of your eye, you see a grey-haired woman in a gown the colour of sapphire whisper to her companion dressed in rich purple. "It's the executioner," she says. Her harsh whisper holds scorn and disgust. The eyes of the crowd narrow at the man as he finds a place next to you. He is tall and wiry, and his line of sight extends over the heads of the crowd. Soldra's citizenry is relatively homogeneous. Around you is a sea of dark hair and dark eyes and fair skin protected from the sun with parasols and ornate scarves draped loosely over faces and shoulders. The executioner's black robe accentuates his pallor, and his eyes are a pale, watery blue. His furrowed brow gives his face a severe, dour look. The woman in gold nudges her companion. "You shouldn't speak ill of him. He does the king's bidding. He only condemns those who defy Bahamut." "I don't care," replies the woman in blue. "Anyone who does a gruesome job like that and doesn't crack from the weight of it disgusts me." A friend sighs and fans a face with a gloved hand. "It's his daughter who disturbs me. They say she can control minds." No one dares to get closer to the executioner. He stands with his arms at his side, and you suppose that he's used to the negative attention. The whispers about him are cut short as the door near the dais opens and 3 people step out. The king emerges first. He wears a bejeweled crown that resembles the top of the tower, a ring of slopes and points. His dark hair and beard are streaked with grey, and he wears an outfit comprised of a rich ruby red brocade. He smiles jovially at the crowd, which responds with cheers and claps. The executioner beside you stiffens at the sight of the king. Next comes the queen. She's not from Soldra, evident by her dusky skin and her vivid amber hair, so red it gleams like firelight in the shadow of the square. She matches her husband's finery, wearing a ruby gown inlaid with gold. Age has accentuated her features, and the king and queen make a handsome, regal couple. She takes the king's hand as they face their audience, and the crowd cries out their names. King Augustin! Queen Catalina! The king and queen turn toward the door, arms outstretched, and their daughter emerges. The crowd sighs and swoons when they see her. She's a remarkable young woman, a mix of her parents, sharing her mother's beauty and her father's lean stature. Her auburn hair is wound into an intricate braid that circles her head, and she wears a silk vest and skirt the color of oxblood. Princess Augustina smiles demurely and takes her seat beside her mother. The king remains standing and addresses the crowd. "Welcome, citizens of Soldra," he says. His voice booms and the sound reverberates around the square. You feel the low rumble of it in your chest, a powerful voice for a powerful man. "I'm honored to oversee another year of peace in Soldra." Cheers erupt around you, and the king waits patiently before continuing. "Soldra's peace and prosperity is hard won," he says. "Our people have sacrificed much, and we continue to honor Bahamut with our annual ceremony. I thank the loyal members of my court for their vigilance in protecting Soldra from heresy and from those who would disrupt our rituals and way of life." The king lets this settle over the rapt crowd and then hand outstretched toward the executioner. While some of Soldrans nod their heads and murmur in agreement, those near the executioner narrow their eyes at him, despite the king's accolades of his service. The king smiles and claps his hands. "Let's begin the ceremony." As is tradition, Priest Nahum will select this year's offering. The king clasps his hands, a regal gesture. Once the offering is selected, she will be anointed, and then she will be escorted to Gada's Peak by our designated guide. At this, he points to the escort, who is, unsurprisingly, the executioner, where she will await her fate and serve Bahamut's will. "High Priest Nahum," the king's voice is authoritative, and you are sure it can be heard through the thick stone walls. The door of the temple opens. A tall, dark gold dragonborn steps outside, dressed in long navy robes. His appearance is jarring, a stark break in the homogeneity of Soldra's citizenry. The same profile of the dragon depicted on the shield above the temple door is embroidered on the dragonborn's vestment. He cradles a large silk pouch, tied closed with a cord. "Thank you, my king," replies High Priest Nahum. He possesses the strong, clear voice of a priest well versed in public speaking. "I am pleased to lead another day of sacrifice. Daughters of Soldra, come forth." The daughters emerge from within the temple, tentative like a trickling stream, but still they must come, relentless as a river. What do you notice about the daughters of Soldra? Roll a wisdom perception check. Now we do have a +5 to perception, so we're going to roll a d20, or rather spin the d20. And we rolled a 19 plus 5 is 24. If you roll a 12 or higher, your eyes scan the group of girls and women huddled together. While many are young women, many are not. A handful of grey-haired, clasping hands with little wide-eyed girls. Like the crowd, they are dressed in finery, scrubbed clean, lacquered and rouged and powdered like dolls. Each wears a large silver amulet engraved with a dragon's profile, the holy symbol of Bahamut. One of the women stands out amongst the rest. Her expression is serene, so very different from the neighbouring expressions of fear and turmoil. She wears a simple black dress made of rough linen. Against the black fabric, her long flaxen braid glints like gold in the low light. She wears simple leather sandals, her wrists and ankles bereft of jewellery. You watch as she scans the crowd and settles on the executioner. Across the plaza, blue collides with blue as their eyes meet. The executioner's frown deepens as the girl in black gives him a small nod and a secret smile. I guess this is the daughter of the executioner who can control minds. Princess Augustina stands, smooths the front of her dress and descends down from the dais, joining the rest of the daughters. Queen Catalina watches the princess with worried eyes, with pursed lips and white knuckles. High Priest Nahum tugs at the pouch's cord and it blooms open. He gives it a shake and the contents shift and clink. Each of the coins in this bag bears the name of a daughter. Each coin has been blessed by Bahamut himself, forged from the metals found in the depths below Gara's Peak. He glances towards the sky, as if waiting to see the shadowed silhouette of a dragon, but the sky remains cloudless and blue. Bahamut, we present you with this offering so that you may shield us from those who seek to do us harm. We thank you for Soldra's protection. High Priest Nahum reaches into the pouch and pulls out a coin. His eyes widen, and he chokes on the name as he reads it aloud. Princess Augustina. The crowd stares, the way the faces of skeletons and catacombs have decomposed, with mouths open. She who is chosen. The queen's anguished scream cuts through the shocked silence, and the crowd erupts in shouts and cries of agony. Select another name, someone shouts from across the plaza. This elicits both cheers and noises of dissent. That's not how it works, another Soldran yells above the chaos. The offering is chosen by Bahamut himself, and we must obey. High Priest Nahum glances back and forth from the coin to the king. The priest is in a dangerous position now. He has just condemned the princess, Soldra's heir and the king's only child, to death, definitively ending the Augustan line. The executioner, too, is quiet, for he will have to escort Princess Augustina to Gara's Peak and leave her for dead. Maybe Bahamut will show her mercy, offers another Soldran. We don't know for sure what happens to the daughters. Several voices overlap in response, giving the same rebuttal. We know that they never return. That's the whole point of the offering. Haven't you seen the bones on Taran Trail? The shouting escalates and swells. Chaos ferments in the humid plaza. The queen shouts at her husband, Do something! Princess Augustina is in tears, looking helplessly at her parents. Many Soldrans crowd around her, consoling her and reaching for her hands. The daughters disperse, finding their families sagging in relief at being spared another year. Take her instead! The woman in blue flings out her hand and points at a daughter dressed in black, who lingers near the doorway of the temple. The crowd quiets immediately as the young woman looks calmly at her condemner. You watch as the daughter's eyes, such a vivid cornflower blue that you can see the blueness from across the plaza, travel from the outstretched finger to the executioner. The daughter smiles at the executioner and nods. I will take the princess's place, the young woman says, turning toward High Priest Nahum. Bahamut asks this of me. The executioner balks and cries out, Domenica, no! The young woman, Domenica, holds up her hand. It's all right, Papa. Remember the holy text. Bahamut honors she who is chosen. Domenica moves to the princess and clasps her hands. Go. Return to your family. Princess Augustina gapes at Domenica before dashing up the dais and into her mother's arms. High Priest Nahum and the king exchange bewildered looks. This is unprecedented, says the king. Bahamut smiles upon you, Nahum says jovially to the king, regaining control of the ceremony. He beckons to the lower priests lingering behind him. A daughter has been selected, and now we must proceed. Where are the reeds and oils? Ah, thank you, Priestess Mara. You ask this of me? That I lead my own daughter to her demise? The executioner interrupts. He fixes the king with a steely look, and you can see how years of killing on the king's orders have taken a toll. You have led many daughters of Soldra to their doom, responds the king. You dare challenge the will of Bahamut? Your daughter's will? My will? You have always acted as my faithful servant. The crowd once again begins to argue. Send her alone, someone shouts. She's no good as a sacrifice if she dies before she gets there, another retorts. The executioner's defiance wavers. The tears on his face fall in silent rivulets, and he looks truly harrowed. I cannot, the executioner says, voice breaking. Do not ask this of me. The plea is directed towards his daughter, not the king. High Priest Nahum intervenes, cradling a small bowl of oil. Perhaps another will accompany her in your stead. He looks out into the crowd. Is there anyone willing to serve as Domenica's guide on the ascent to Gara's Peak? I will reply with, yes, I will take her to Gara's Peak. The crowd turns to face you as you proclaim your intentions. Very well, says Priest Nahum. As Domenica's escort, you are tasked with delivering her as the offering to Gara's Peak. which entails a treacherous climb up Taran Trail. To aid you in this journey, the Temple of Bahamut presents you with this. High Priest Nahum steps forward and hands you a common potion of healing. Okay, so we're going to take this down. We have one common potion of healing. We're going to proceed to page 11. The anointing. 2 priestesses flank High Priest Nahum in front of the door of Bahamut's temple. The priest holds a bronze bowl full of fragrant oil. He dips 2 fingers into it, then presses his oiled fingers to Domenica's forehead, chin, and the hollow of her throat, and recites something in Draconic. I do not know Draconic. The words High Priest Nahum speaks are harsh and throaty, filled with edged consonants and guttural vowels, and you assume it is some sort of prayer. High Priest Nahum passes the bowl to the priestess on his right side, who hands him a tightly wound circlet of laurel. Oh, she's got a laurel wreath. Okay. Domenica lowers to her knees, and High Priest Nahum places the wreath atop her golden hair. A golden plate, sorry. Bahamut guides you, Domenica of Soldra, says High Priest Nahum. The priest leads the procession to the city gate. Curiously, the executioner remains silent as he walks beside his daughter. Soldrans who weren't present in the plaza peer out of their windows, eager to see who was chosen as the offering. The procession reaches the gate and stands idly before the large wooden doors that lead out of the city. On High Priest Nahum's command, the guards on the parapets above heave open the gate. Before you is a road. A mile out, the gravel path merges into a dirt trail winding upward through the craggy mountains. The range is jagged and pointed, like the serrated edge of a knife, and one point looms the tallest, Gara's Peak. Domenica carries nothing with her. She wears only sandals, the laurel crown, a black cloak, and the black linen dress that matches her father's garb. The crowd is silent as Domenica embraces her father. She whispers something to him that you cannot hear. Wait! Cries the executioner. Please, if you must go with nothing, at least take this. He hurries towards his daughter, unbuckling the belt and sheath around his waist, and hands the blade to Domenica. She accepts it, embraces him, and walks away, her back to the crowd, to her father, to Soldra. If you are escorting Domenica, proceed to Gara's Peak, page 16. Oh, there's also the option of not going with her. That's interesting. So we're going to go to page 16. Gara's Peak. The road outside of Soldra is not vacant nor populated. A singular caravan from a nearby city passes you by, and the merchant avoids your eyes, her face half shrouded by a scarf. A raven perched on her cart caws in your direction. It takes 20 minutes for you and Domenica to reach the trailhead. The paved road underfoot transitions to a trodden path that winds upward. A weathered wooden sign on the left reads, Taran Trail, in both common and draconic. I'm sorry, Domenica says. I was lost in my thoughts, and I have not asked you your name, nor thanked you for accompanying me. She pauses as you respond, then peers towards the mountain, shading her eyes. The path ahead is dangerous, and we may encounter hostile creatures. Stay alert, my champion. She places a hand on your shoulder, and you feel a warmth pass from her palm to you. You've received 3 temporary hit points. Okay, we're now at 33. I'm just going to make a note, not on the character sheet, but on my note paper. The mountain range before you is a series of jagged limestone pillars blanketed in patches of verdant trees. Taran Trail is relatively flat for the first few miles, and you and Domenica proceed without trouble. She's unbothered by her sandals over rough terrain and walks with a sense of purpose and certainty. After a while, as the path begins to incline, Domenica speaks. Bahamut does not ask Soldra to sacrifice its citizens for him. It is true that a century ago, Soldra was once frequently attacked by dragons, but that is only because the city encroached on what was once wilderness and home to a race of dragons made of stone and rock. That is why there are still lairs and hordes within these mountains. A volcano remains dormant too, far beneath us. But these were not the chromatic dragons many fear, hewn and birthed from the earth. These were the cousins of Bahamut's chosen creatures. The metallic dragons with scales and wings that glint and gleam. The sacrifice was the idea of Soldra's first temple priest, High Priest Akaro. Some suspect that High Priest Akaro secretly worshipped not Bahamut, but Tiamat. But regardless of his true alliance, the first offering worked. The dragons stopped attacking. Superstitious Soldrans hold fast to the ritual, believing it is what Bahamut bids. High Priest Nahum does what he thinks is right. Those of us who have tried to claim otherwise are silenced. The king commands my father to execute those who speak in defiance, and my father dutifully obeys, although in his heart, I think he knows the truth. Domenica tugs on her long blonde braid, absent-mindedly fingering the ribbon that keeps it plaited. She smells of laurel leaves and sandalwood oil, a pungent and pleasant aroma of spice and musk. I was visited by Bahamut as a child. He told me, "One day you will be called upon to lay your life down, and I want you to answer the call." And I promised I would. And in turn, he infused me with this power, which I then used to aid those in suffering. But those who witness these gifts fear and scorn me. She looks upward, and you follow her gaze. The sky overhead darkens, easing into an ominous, heavy cobalt. Girls like me are always the first to be sacrificed. I promised Bahamut I would do what he asked. Still, I hope to not become another pile of bones on this path. I do not think he intends for that to be my fate. You glance down to see the path littered with human bones, dozens of skulls, femurs, ribs, and unidentified body parts lay picked. And forgotten, sun-bleached and desolate. It's a harrowing visual, the true cost of Soldra's peace, a city built on the bones of dragons and daughters. The incline was gradual, but the path now angles upward at a steep incline. The trail is rocky and difficult. You wonder how Domenica's feet are faring. If she feels pain, she makes no complaints. The peak is about a half-mile up, and Domenica ceases speaking, for the climb requires all attention and energy. Something screeches above you. You look up to see 4 large bloodhawks hurtling toward you, talons and beaks sharp as knives. Domenica draws her father's sword from its sheath and prepares to attack. The stats for bloodhawks are found on page 18. Okay. Let's take a look at 18. Here we are. No, it's a hippogriff. Here we are. Okay, so let's roll for initiative. First I go, I have a +2 to initiative, and I roll a 14, so that's a 16. This time I'm going to do this a little more smartly. So that's M, then we have the Bloodhawks, and then we have Domenica. So I'm at a 14. Then Domenica, the Bloodhawks are on a 5, so they go after me. And then let's take a look. We roll a 5 for Domenica. +1, so she's a 6. So I go first, then goes Domenica, and then come the bloody hawks, the Bloodhawks. So I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to proceed from left to right. Okay, so we have 4 of these guys. They have 7 hit points and armor class 12. First of all, I'm going to see if I can recharge my if I recharged my wand this morning, and on a 2 I didn't. Okay, so I have 3 more charges of magic missile. The question is, am I going to use this, or am I going to I'm not going to shapeshift just yet. I'm going to use a bonus action to cast Shillelagh, and then I'm going to attack the first one. And on an 18, I beat the armor class 12 easily, and I do 1d8 plus 5. So let's roll a d8, or actually just not roll it, but actually spin it. And I spin it and I get a 5 plus 5 is 10. So the first one is down. So we have now only 3 to go. Domenica is going to attack as as well. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong side. Let's try this again. And she rolls a 19 plus 3 is a 22. That's easily a hit. And she deals 1d8 slashing damage. Yep. And that is a 2. So the second one is down to 5. And then we've got 2 more who have 7 and 7. So the one that has the 5, he's going to attack Domenica because she hurt him. That's the easiest. And what do they do? Yeah, so they're going to get an advantage. So we're going to, do they have beak or something else? No, just beak. Okay. So first one goes with advantage against her. That's a natural 1. So definitely the advantage is going to kick in. And now it's cocked. Let's try this again. It's a 3 plus 7. What is her armor class? That's hardly a hit. Yeah. So the first one doesn't hit. The other one is going to make a decision. 1, 2, 3, it's me. 4, 5, 6, it's her. 4, 5, 6, it's her. So this one is going to attack her as well with advantage. So first one is 8 plus 8 plus 4 is not a hit because she has got armor class 13. No, armor class 11. That is a hit. But we'll see because he does have advantage, but he doesn't roll a natural 20, so he does 1d4. And that is a 3. So she is down to 15 hit points. And the other one is going to attack me. We're going to spread it out because I'm also dangerous. And that's a 2. So that's definitely something that he would like to re-roll. And that's cocked. And that is another 2. Okay. So that didn't work. So now it's me again. I'm going to attack the first one. And I also have advantage because we are both flanking. So let's see. And that is cocked. But that is a 10 plus 5 is a 15. That is a hit. And I do a 1d8 plus... that is cocked. That's better. That is a... that is a 4 plus 5 is 9. So the one that was hurt is now no more. Then it's Meredith. It's her again. She flanks and she uses her sword plus 3. That's a 7 plus 3 is a 10. That's not a hit, but she does have advantage, and that's a 2, so she doesn't hit. Next one, we're going to say one attacks me and one attacks her. First one on me, 6 with advantage, 11. That definitely... Is that a hit? 11? No, it's not because my armor class is 16. So the other one is trying to attack her. On a 9, that would be a hit. And that is a hit. And he does 1d4. That is 3 points. She's down to 12. My turn. That's a 3, but I have advantage, so that's a 19. 24, that's 24 to hit. That hits. And then 1d8 plus 5. I really like Shalala. That is a 7. And 1 is down. And now it's her again. She does have advantage on a 2. Not much of an advantage, but then she does a 14, which is a hit. Let's see, she does a d8 slashing. And that is a 3. So this one is left, and now we're going to make a choice because we're going to attack her because obviously she damaged it. No more advantage for it. On a 4, it doesn't hit. So now it's me. And on a 19, 24, that's a hit, but maybe I get a natural 20. I do not. I actually get a natural 1 for my advantage roll. So now I'm going to roll a d8. And I roll a 4. Plus 5 is 9. This one is down and dead. So we are victorious. Yay. You fought well, Meredith, says Domenica. Her father's sword is already stained with the remnants of soldiers' traitors, a deep crimson. Oh, oh God, it's the sword that he uses to execute people. Great. The hawk's blood shines slick and new, still dripping. You wonder whose blood that blade has seen. Well, I honestly don't wonder because I don't even want to know. She wipes the sword on her cloak and sheathes it. The sun will set in the next few hours. We should hurry so you can return to the city before nightfall. Oh, okay. It's a one-day trip. There and back again. The peak is not far. The plateau comes into view above you. Domenica's leather sheath hits the rock as she climbs, and the sound of impact echoes around you. She takes care to not disturb the additional bones that remain embedded in the cracks of rock. There are fewer bones here, and you suspect fewer daughters made it this far. As you go higher, the atmosphere grows thinner and cooler, and a light fog surrounds you. The mist clings to your clothes and skin. At last you emerge at the peak. It is not just a plateau, you notice now, but a precipice. The large slab of rock upon which you stand juts out over the rest of the range below. In the center of the 50-foot diameter plateau is a long rectangle of obsidian, about 3 feet long, the inside carved and cratered like a trench. A sacrificial altar, Domenica explains. The first daughter sacrificed here, Octavia, was bled out. High priest Acaro cut her throat, but her body disappeared, and no one knows what happened to it. Domenica points out over the precipice, toward a glow far in the distance. Soldra, nestled in the valley. Beyond the city, miles and miles away, is the sea. The city at dusk, seen through the shroud of mist, is like a candle, flickering as it settles in for the night. The celebrations have begun, I'm sure, says Domenica. A night of revelry, toasting Soldra's year of peace. She says it without bitterness or spite, but with a touch of longing. She turns to you. Now I wait, and you have done your duty, so you should return and join the festivities. Here, she says, unbuckling the sword belt. Please give this to my father. The sound of flapping wings jolts you, and Domenica laughs. Not a dragon, not yet, at least. There are hippogriffs who fly here. Look. She points, and you see a grand, white hippogriff soaring above you. Its heavy wings beat against the tension of the air, and it regards you and Domenica warily and without hostility. Domenica frowns. As magnificent as I think they are, I wish they wouldn't come here. They are prey to dragons. A low rumble makes the ground quake and tumble. The diaphanous clouds overhead suddenly grow heavy like sodden rags, dark with moisture. A raindrop splatters on your face. The first few drops come tentatively, but a moment later lightning shatters the sky and the clouds break open, releasing a torrent. You must go, Domenica shouts through the rain. It is not safe here for you. Domenica's plea is cut short. She cries out and lurches forward as if struck, and you look around for the attacker. The dragon this time, or another bloodhawk? But there is no one else on the peak beside you and Domenica. You reach for her hand to pull her to her feet, but she cries out again as the back of her linen dress splits open. A giant black dragon wing bursts forth from her shoulder, splitting the skin as it tears through. No! Domenica screams as another wing, webbed and slick with rain, emerges from her back. The wings overpower her slender frame as they begin to flap, and she is lifted from the ground. More draconic features sprout from Domenica's limbs as she cries out in agony, fighting against the transformation. Jagged Cimmerian scales cut through her flesh until nearly all of her body has pulled and shifted and mutated into the form of an obsidian dragon. Before her face is engulfed in scales, Domenica cries, "Please free me!" Domenica, the executioner's daughter, has transformed into a dragon before your very eyes. A gruesome, agonizing, and awe-inspiring event to witness. The creature hovers before you, flapping its great midnight wings. Oh God, my passive perception is 13. It's higher than 12 because that's wisdom. It's 10 plus the wisdom modifier, so it's 13. You notice that while the dragon is black, its hide is a texture that resembles obsidian. You recall Domenica speaking of the rock dragons that once lived in this region and of the volcano that remains dormant under the mountains. The dragon's wings and tail are edged with gold, and its eyes are vivid blue. Is Domenica still in there somewhere? The lightning cracks again. The dragon makes a low rumbling noise in its throat, opens its mouth, and exhales a breath of fire, vivid and vibrant. The rain douses some of the flames, but you are caught in the blast, engulfed in scorching heat, causing 3 points of fire damage. Okay, so we're down to 30 because we had 3 temporary hit points. Well, if you are watching, this is a really beautiful picture. What do you do? I will engage in combat. It did attack me. So first of all, I roll initiative. And that is cocked. I rolled an 8. So now let's roll for the let's roll. And that one has a 12. So the dragon, or Domenica, the dragon goes first, then I go. I'm not going to use the sword because the sword is less powerful than my my form. And I have to check something. Can I turn into a bear? CR1. Yeah, I'm going to turn into a bear because that gives me multi-attack and +5 and +5. That's exactly the same, but I can do 2 attacks. So I will turn into a bear. I just had to check the stats if I survive this first attack. So basically, okay, number 1, it just breathed on me. So now it gets to see if it recharges. And on a 6, it does. And it's a dragon, so it's going to attack me again. And I'm going to do a dexterity saving throw. And I've got a +2 to this. And I roll a natural 1. So basically, I take 4d6. So let's do this. The 6 is here. That's a 5, 7, 11, and another 5 is 16. I'm down to 14 points of damage. But now, darling, it's my turn. I use my bonus action to shift into a brown bear. And then the brown bear is going to, and now I have armor class 11, and I have 34 hit points. So my first attack against the obsidian dragon is a 12 with my bite. It doesn't hit. Next one is a 9. It's a 14. Doesn't hit either. So now it's the dragon. It's going to use its bite. And that's a 19 that hits. And it does 1d10 plus 2. Oh God, I'm so dead. That's 12. So I'm now down to 22 points. So now I attack again. 14, that's a miss. And that's a cocked roll. And that's a natural 20 for my claw. So I get to do 4d6 plus 4. So roll well. That's a 3, 6, 10, 16 plus 4 is 20 points of damage. It has 8 hit points left. Okay, so the dragon is now at 8. It's going to use its shard claw because that's going to do more damage. And on a 10 plus 4, it does hit. And it does 1d12 plus 2. Seven plus 2 is 9. I'm down to 13 hit points. Oh God, I'm so dead. 2 attacks. 13 plus 5 is 18. That's a hit. Let's see, we do 1d8 plus 4 piercing. And that's a 5 plus 4 is 9. It's dead because it only had 8 points left. Okay. We survived. I didn't expect that to happen, actually. I didn't realize that she was going to turn into a dragon. If you defeat the dragon, go to the ones who survived, page 24. A final blow takes down the dragon. Well, I bite it, and its body lies lifeless before you. The storm ceases raging, but the rain persists, lacking its earlier tenacity. You gather your wits and tend to your wounds as night settles around you. Gone are the sounds of the hawks and other winged creatures. I'm down to 14 points of damage. I'm going to take the common potion of healing, which gives me 6 back, so I'm now at 20. Gone are the sounds of the hawks and other winged creatures rustling nearby. The peak has been abandoned during your fight. What to do with the creature before you? What will you tell the Soldrans if and when you return to the city? Is this what happens to all of the sacrificed daughters? Well, I find it a bit weird because if this was the case, there should be dozens of dragons, but there aren't. I mean, no dragon has been seen attacking the city or flying overhead. That's weird. As you plan your descent, first of all, I take a short rest, so I'm back to wild shape 2. A true darkness falls, masking all starlight and moonlight, and you are engulfed in it. A beam of light pierces through the black, illuminating the corpse, and the dragon's body begins to levitate. What? The light grows brighter and brighter until you have to look away, until it suddenly calms. The glow touches your eyelids like a caress, like a morning ray. You open your eyes, and it is like morning all around you. The storm lifts and the light pushes away the shadows. The dragon is gone, and in its place now stands Domenica. Her body is encased in shining golden armor, and she wears the laurel wreath like a crown. The only remnant of the dragon is Domenica's shield, the dragon's obsidian wing edged in gold. The silhouette of Bahamut is emblazoned in black across her chest. Oh, so now she has a shield that looks like the dragon's obsidian wing with a gold edging. Okay. The silhouette of Bahamut is emblazoned in black across her chest. She's probably a paladin of Bahamut now. Her father's sword appears in her hand, and it is no longer metal, but jet black, matching her shield. Domenica smiles at you. My champion, you have not just released me from my fate, but you have saved all daughters of Soldra. How? Why? What just happened? Soldra's act of sacrifice inflicted a curse upon its daughters. It twisted Bahamut's love and made it something ugly and fearful. In turn, daughters who reached the peak were warped and transformed and condemned to live out their lives as the creatures most feared by Soldrans. For we daughters, virgins, votaries, girls without names, are what Soldra truly scorned. But you have set me free, and now I will do the same for the others. As a thank you, I gift you my father's sword. She hands you the black blade. Before, the metal hilt was bound in leather. Now the full handle is pure gold. The pommel is shaped like a dragon's head, and 2 golden wings form the crossguard, opening into the length of obsidian. Words are carved into the blade in glowing draconic. Domenica reads it out loud. Do not think I came only with peace. I came with a sword. That's some message. If you are ever in need of Bahamut, you need only to speak his name and he will aid you, she says. Then steps toward the edge of the precipice. Daughters, come forth! A thundering begins, the rumbling of dragons' wings beating against the wind, and the dragons rise from the valley below. There are dozens of them, their scales hewn and forged from the landscape from which they were birthed. Some are older and larger, their features rough and jagged from the decades they lived in this state. Some are still small, their bodies lacking the strength and heft of their predecessors. Nevertheless, they are magnificent. These are the daughters who survived. Domenica stands before them, a radiant holy warrior. And in this moment, as you see Domenica superimposed onto the valley below and the city ahead and the powerful beasts awaiting her command, you find it very hard to tell the difference between a daughter and a dragon. The end. Wow. I really like that. And this is a nice aside. Author's notes. The quotes on the executioner's sword were derived from 2 notable quotes. I was not afraid. I was born to do this. Attributed to Joan of Arc. Do not think that I come to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Matthew 10:34, New International Version. Okay. I'm going to read this because I think it's important. Author's note. What I had intended to be a short 1-page module for another project quickly became a much bigger story than I anticipated. I hesitate to call it a solo adventure. In my mind, it's more of an interactive story, which is true. I wanted to write something literary while giving the reader a chance to participate, but I didn't quite model this after other solo adventures. No, you didn't. For months, I couldn't get the character of Domenica out of my head. While in Barcelona in fall of 2017, after exploring the Gothic Quarter, I had dreams about a woman with a sword standing in a cobblestone plaza. I woke up and started writing the first draft of what would eventually become what you're reading now. This story was inspired by the Spanish Inquisition and the legend of San Jordi. I am always fascinated by groups of people who believe they are doing the right thing in the name of their religion when they are actually having the opposite effect. Superstition is powerful and makes for good stories, and as much as I enjoyed the idea of St. Geordie rescuing a helpless princess from an angry dragon, I always prefer a powerful heroine to a passive damsel. So I put my own spin on it. Girls turning into epic creatures is one of my absolute favorite tropes. This is the first in a trilogy entitled Tribunal. Each story features a woman who is challenged by her society, and you, as the reader, can choose to aid in her defiance. Or not. It's up to you. Regardless of defense, not defiance. Or not. It's up to you. Regardless of your choices, I hope you enjoy the journey. Ashley Warren. Yes, I think I did, and I hope you did as well. This was round about an hour, and yeah, very enjoyable. Talk to you soon. Bye.